All of you may know me as a guy that always smiles before speech, but believe me, it's been a long journey to come to this smile. I always thought mental health was this excuse to not live up to your fullest potential. I always thought that it was just an excuse to not do what you were supposed to do, but that narrative quickly changed. When New Year comes, my goal was always to graduate at the top of my class. I was well on my way to graduate, top 10 in my class, and then tragedy strikes. February 13th, I got diagnosed with depression. And it was at that moment, I was like, no way. I couldn't believe it. God really gave me this when I'm so close to my goal. I always wanted to go to a top university because I thought that this was the time to help my mom, so she won't have to work another day in her life. I was like, no way, God. You took away my dad from rectal cancer. You took away my two biggest inspirations, my grandma and my grandpa. My grandma and my grandpa both died of a heart attack that same year. I was like, no way, not this time. And it was at that time, a lot of people, all my friends and family, they came up to me like, Sergio, this God that you believe in, this God that you say is so good, like, why? Why do you believe in it? I see you go to church every Sunday, every Friday you would go to church. Like, what? If he's so good, why is he doing that? But in their eyes, all they could see is my son is hurt, my friend is hurt. They never realized what God really had in store for me. And I had two psychologists, one in the U.S. and one in Mexico. The one in Mexico had to transfer me to another psychologist because I was at such a bad level that I was very suicidal. And it was at that moment I realized how bad I was. I was very hesitant to take medication. I was in denial. I couldn't accept the fact that I had gone into depression, something that I laughed for over my entire life, that I never thought was real. And then one day I talked to my psychologist and he was like, you know what? I never faced a case like you. This is so serious that I need to tell your mom to hide all the knives in the house. And that same day my mom did take away all the knives in my house. But I kept on with me because I was looking for a way out. Every single day I tried to find a way to kill myself. Whether it was trying to see how long it would take for me to drown myself, or using a knife, trying to find what vein is gonna be easiest so I can bleed out. I just tried it all. And there came this one day that I was in the park that I would go to every day and write all my thoughts. I had had enough. I didn't think I was gonna make it through. And it was at that moment I had almost given up my faith in God. It was a real test to whether I was gonna keep believing in Him, just take away my life. And as I had the knife, I had already written my death note. I left it in my bed to my brother and my mother. And as soon as I got the knife, I was ready to put it in my left vein. And I had never felt a pain like that before. And once I did it, I put it through my arm, and I can't explain in words what happened. The knife completely bent. The blade completely bent. It was one of the hardest pains I've ever felt because I completely stabbed it, but the knife, I saw it on the ground and it bent completely. And that's when I knew that was God's way of telling me, son, I got you. And from that moment on, I realized that I have a purpose, and I kept moving forward as I was completely overweight, and I knew that it was time for a change. And that moment, I decided to make a change in my life. I decided to start going to the gym. I decided to start having more faith in God. I decided to read more about the Bible. Why was I going through what I went through? And months later, I had a very big transformation. And those same people that came up to me when it first started saying, Sergio, who is this God? Why is he so that questioned my faith in God, saying, I thought he was so good. Those same people came up to me when they saw my transformation and they're like, Sergio, I want to give my life to Christ because of what I've seen happen to And it was at that turning point I knew this what I was supposed to be going through. And you see, now I laugh because the thing I put my identity on, like it was taken away. But I laugh because people always say if I can get this, I'll be. If I can get this amount of money, I'll be. Or if I can just get this position, I'll be. But what happens when you get it or you don't get it? What happens when God says yes and no? Do you have the ability to accept what you can't understand? And I was just so grateful that I was able to live another day. And I knew this what I was supposed to be going through when those people they gave their life to Christ, not because it was something they went through, but because it was something I went through. And it was at that moment I knew I was living my favorite Bible verse in the Bible. It was Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you, but plans to give you full of hope in the future. I feel like I'm living that plan now. I feel like what we're going through, it's not designed to stop us. It's designed to reposition us for what God really has for us. And all those times that I was in the park, the only thing I really prayed for was for a miracle. And to this day, I really never got my miracle. However, I realized that I could be a miracle for someone else. Use my story and be their miracle. And that's what I've done. I changed so many people's lives. I realized that what I really did, it wasn't materialistic. I didn't do it for materialistic stuff. I didn't do it for my pride. I didn't do it for anything else. I did it for the glory of God. And moving forward, I knew this was my purpose because some people don't need you to preach a sermon. They need you to live it. And when they see you living it, that's when they can connect and identify with what God really has for you. And so now that you guys have seen my story and heard it, I'm here now. I'm gonna end up with this. We already know what to do when we get blessed. We already know what to do when God answers our prayers. But the question I have for you, and it's rhetorical, what will you do when God says no?